Jake Morrison looked out the window at the endless darkness of space. The prison station floated far from any planet, far from any star system. This was where the galaxy sent its worst criminals. A strange alien walked up to him. She had 4 eyes that blinked one after another. She was from a species called the Velkin. She ran this prison station. "You are the new human guards?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. 12 of us ready to work," Jake said. The Velkin made a clicking sound. "When the council first said they wanted humans as guards, I thought they were crazy. Your species is so young. You only joined the galaxy 40 years ago. That is nothing in our time." Jake had heard this before. Next to him, Lisa Bennett stayed quiet but listened carefully. "But the numbers do not lie," the Velkin continued. "Since humans became guards, escape attempts dropped by 73%. Violence between prisoners dropped by 61%. More prisoners are getting better and leaving this place." "We just do our job," Jake said simply. "Come with me. Let me show you why that matters so much." She took them through the bright hallways of the station. This prison held over 2,000 criminals from 47 different alien species. War criminals who destroyed entire worlds. Killers who murdered millions. Each cell was specially built to hold its prisoner using the best technology the galaxy had. "This is Block 7, she said, stopping at a huge security door. "Maximum security. The absolute worst prisoners we have." The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a long hallway with cells on both sides. Some cells glowed with strange light. Others seemed to eat the light around them. Jake could feel the power in the air. "In cell 712 we have Kraxon the Render. He killed 4 million beings across 6 worlds. In cell 723, Hive Mother Zeltros. She tried to infest an entire civilization with her species. In cell 731, Void Priest Morn. He cracked open a planet to steal its core. Jake's team stayed calm and professional, but he could feel their tension. These were not just criminals. They were monsters. For 200 years we tried using every species as guards, the administrator explained. The Vryn were too violent and aggressive. The Kalesh felt too much sympathy for prisoners. The Mordani could be bribed and corrupted. We even tried artificial intelligence robots. They were too logical, and prisoners could predict what they would do. Every species had a weakness these prisoners could use against them. "And humans?" Jake asked. "You are the only species that has everything we need, all balanced together perfectly. Come, let me show you something." They walked to one of the cells. Inside was a creature that looked like living shadows. It pressed against the energy wall of its cell. Just looking at it made Jake's skin crawl and filled him with a deep fear he could not explain. "This is shade that consumes," the administrator said. "It eats fear and sadness." For decades, no guard could walk past this cell without going crazy. Guards would have nightmares. Some had mental breakdowns. Some went completely insane. She pointed at the guard on duty now. A young human woman named Amy Carter sat calmly at her post. She was reading something on a tablet computer. Sometimes she looked at the cell with mild interest, like someone watching fish in a tank. "How does she do that?" the Velkin asked. "How can she sit there so calm?" Jake watched Amy for a moment, then smiled a little. "Because she knows it is locked up. She knows we built the cage stronger than the thing inside. Humans are good at being afraid but doing the job anyway." The administrator looked at Jake for a long moment. "Yes, that is exactly it. Other species either cannot feel fear, so they do not respect the danger, or they feel too much fear and cannot function. Humans feel the fear but work through it." They continued the tour. The Velkin showed them more cells, more monsters, a being made of pure energy that could possess other creatures, a hive mind that tried to absorb anyone who came close, a creature that could predict the future and had used that power to orchestrate genocides across multiple star systems. "Each of these prisoners is a master manipulator," she explained. "They have had centuries or even millennia to perfect their techniques. They know how to break guards mentally. They study psychology, philosophy, logic. They find weaknesses and exploit them ruthlessly." "And they cannot do that to humans?" Lisa asked. "Oh, they try," the Velkin said. "They try constantly. But humans have something unique. You can understand their arguments without being convinced by them. You can feel empathy without being manipulated. You can be flexible in your thinking without losing sight of your duty." She stopped at another cell. Inside was a beautiful humanoid alien with silver skin and golden eyes. It looked peaceful, almost divine. "This is the Mercy Bringer. Do not let the appearance fool you. It convinced an entire planetary defense force to lay down their weapons." Then it killed 50 million people in the resulting invasion. It did this by making them believe that violence was always wrong, even in self-defense. A human guard named Danny Price stood at this post. The Mercy Bringer was speaking to him in a soft, kind voice. "Violence only creates more violence," it was saying. "Surely you see that. Your own history proves it. War after war, each one breeding the next. The only way to break the cycle is to choose peace, always peace." "That sounds nice," Danny said. "But peace with you meant 50 million dead people. So I will keep you locked up, thanks." "But keeping me imprisoned is itself an act of violence," the Mercy Bringer continued. "You are harming me by denying my freedom. How is that different from what you condemn me for?" "Because you killed people and I am just doing my job," Danny replied calmly. "You can word game it however you want, but the facts are simple. You are dangerous. You stay in the cell. That is how it works." The Mercy Bringer tried several more approaches, but Danny just nodded politely and refused to engage deeply with any of the philosophical arguments. As they walked away, the Velkin administrator shook her head in amazement. A Kalesh guard would have been paralyzed by the ethical dilemma. A Vryn would have become angry and potentially violent. A Mordani would have felt such pity that they might have been corrupted. Your guard simply acknowledged the complexity and stuck to his duty. "We are good at that," Jake said. "Humans spend our whole lives dealing with complicated situations that do not have perfect answers. We learn early that sometimes you just have to make a choice and stick with it, even when you are not 100% sure it is right." The administrator took them to the command center and showed them the monitoring systems. Cameras covered every angle. Sensors tracked everything. The technology was impressive. "You will have 12-hour shifts," she explained. "Rotating assignments so you see different prisoners in different situations. We have found that variety helps keep human guards sharp. If you see the same prisoner every day, they learn your patterns. By rotating, we keep them off balance." "Makes sense," Jake said. "One more thing," the Velkin said seriously. "These prisoners will test you in ways you cannot imagine. They will try to befriend you. They will try to make you angry. They will argue philosophy and ethics. They will try to make you doubt yourself, doubt your orders, doubt the entire system. Some will seem pitiful, some will seem noble. Do not be fooled. Every single being in maximum security is here because they are truly dangerous." "We understand," Jake assured her. "I hope so. Because if you fail, if even one of these prisoners escapes, the consequences could be catastrophic. Some of them could destroy entire worlds if they got free." Jake looked at his team. 12 humans, young and old, men and women. They did not look like much compared to the powerful aliens he had seen. But they had something those aliens did not have. They had the ability to be contradictory, to be kind but firm, to be understanding but unyielding, to feel doubt but act anyway. "We will not let you down," Jake said. The Velkin studied him with all 4 eyes. Then she made a sound that might have been approval. "I believe you. Welcome to Detention Station Omega-7. Your shift begins tomorrow." That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about the creatures in those cells. The monsters wearing beautiful faces. The killers with convincing arguments. The beings that could twist minds and break wills. But he also thought about Danny calmly dismissing the Mercy Bringer's manipulations. About Amy sitting peacefully outside the cell of a fear-eating shadow. About all the human guards who came before him, creating that perfect record of 0 escapes. Humans were strange, he thought. They could believe 2 opposite things at the same time. They could feel fear and courage simultaneously. They could understand a villain's point of view while still opposing them completely. Maybe that was exactly what made them perfect for this job. In a galaxy full of logical species and emotional species and honor-bound species and empathetic species, humans were all of those things and none of them. They were walking contradictions. And in this place, surrounded by master manipulators who could exploit any single-minded approach, being contradictory might be the greatest strength of all. Jake finally fell asleep, ready for whatever challenges tomorrow would bring. The galaxy trusted humans to guard its nightmares. It was time to prove that trust was not misplaced. 3 weeks into their new assignment, Jake began to understand why humans were so special for this work. He was walking through Block 4 when he saw Danny Price standing outside one of the cells. Inside was a prisoner named Vesh. He was from a species called the Telkani. He looked like a giant praying mantis with huge multifaceted eyes and clicking mouth parts. Vesh had been a spy who organized the murder of an entire planetary government. "Everything okay, Price?" Jake asked. Danny nodded but did not look away from the prisoner. He has been talking for 20 minutes. Trying to mess with my head, Jake listened. Vesh spoke in a low, rhythmic voice. His words were designed to be hypnotic. He was building a careful story about how he was not really a criminal, about how he was protecting his people, about how the guards were serving a corrupt system that punished those who tried to do good. Your commander approaches, Vesh said, his giant eyes somehow looking at both of them at once. Perhaps he will listen to reason better than you, young one. I doubt it, Danny said flatly. I have studied humans carefully, Vesh continued. His voice was smooth despite the clicking sounds. You are emotional creatures. You act on feelings and loyalty instead of logic. Surely you can see that I am not like the other monsters here. My actions were necessary. They were justified. I can prove this with mathematics if you would just listen. Math does not make murder okay, Danny replied. But what is murder really? A primitive idea. I eliminated threats to my species' survival. Your own human history is full of such decisions. You killed to protect your tribes, your countries. Do you say your ancestors were evil? Jake watched Danny carefully. The kid was only 23 years old. This was his first job in deep space. This was exactly the kind of smart manipulation that had broken guards from other species. My ancestors were wrong when they were wrong, Danny said after thinking for a moment. And they were right when they were right. Being human does not mean being perfect. It means trying to be better. You are here because many different species on a jury agreed you crossed a line. I am here to make sure you stay here. That is my job. Vesh's mouth parts clicked in what might have been frustration. Such simple thinking. Such a waste of intelligence. Yep, Danny agreed cheerfully. I am pretty simple. Makes the job easier. As they walked away, Jake patted Danny on the shoulder. Good work. How did you know not to argue with him? My mom is a lawyer, Danny said with a smile. I learned when I was young that some people will argue the sky is green if it helps them win. You cannot beat them by debating. You just stick to what you know is right and do not let them pull you into their game. That evening, Jake wrote his weekly report to the Galactic Corrections Council. He explained what he saw. The Telkhani were master debaters. They could build logical arguments that trapped even brilliant minds in endless loops of ethical questions. The Vryn guards had often been frozen by these arguments. They could not act, because they could not solve the philosophical puzzle. The Kalish guards, who felt emotions very deeply, had been emotionally destroyed. But humans had something the other species did not have. They could understand that things were complicated while still making a choice. They could see that morality had shades of gray, and still know the difference between right and wrong. They could feel empathy for why a prisoner did something while still keeping them locked up. The next test came from a different direction. Kate Wilson was supervising the medical area when prisoner X771 started showing signs of being sick. X771 was a Horgathi war chief. The Horgathi were massive aliens with 4 arms. They had a strict warrior culture based on honor. He is refusing treatment, the medical officer said. His name was Tisk, and he was from a species called the Felgran. He says he will not accept help from his captors. He says death is better than showing weakness. Kate went into the medical room where X771 lay on a reinforced bed. Even sick, the Horgathi was huge, easily 3 meters tall with gray skin covered in scars from battles and rituals. You are being stupid, Kate said bluntly. X771's 4 eyes focused on her. How dare you speak to me that way, human? I am War Chief Gron. I have led armies across entire star systems. I do not fear death. I did not say you were afraid of death, Kate replied. She pulled up a chair and sat down even though the medical officer looked nervous. I said you were being stupid. Those are different things. Explain yourself, guard. He said the word guard like it was an insult. You are sitting here letting yourself die from an infection we can cure easily. You think this makes you look tough. You know what it actually makes you look like? Wasteful. Dumb. A warrior who throws away his life for no reason and gains nothing from it. Gron's breathing was heavy and labored, but his eyes narrowed. You know nothing of honor. I know plenty about honor, Kate said. My grandfather was a Marine. He always said that honor is not about dying when you do not have to. It is about staying alive so you can keep fighting for what matters. You are here because you lost a battle. Dying of an infection does not change that. It just means you died for nothing. I killed thousands of your Alliance soldiers, Gron said. I destroyed colonies. You should want me dead, Maybe I do, Kate admitted. But that is not my job. My job is to keep you alive and keep you locked up. If you die because I did not do my job right, that is on me. Besides, you were put on trial. You were found guilty. You are serving your sentence. Dying now is just running away from the consequences. That does not seem very warrior-like to me. Gron was quiet for a long time. Then he made a rumbling sound deep in his chest. You speak strangely, human. But there is wisdom in your words. Very well, I will accept treatment, but not from you or your medical officer. Why not? Because you are right. I am being wasteful. I will accept treatment and I will live to finish my sentence. Maybe then I will have truly paid for my crimes. But I cannot accept help from those I see as enemies. Send for a Horgathi doctor. I will trust my own kind. Kate nodded. I will make the request. But the treatment starts now, Chief. You can get it from our medical officer while we wait for your preferred doctor to arrive. Gron thought about this, then nodded his head slightly. Acceptable. As Kate left the medical bay, she realized what had just happened. She had found the balance between respecting the prisoner's dignity and keeping security tight. Not by giving up on either thing, but by changing how the prisoner saw the situation in a way he could accept. That night, Jake added another note to his report. Humans understood honor without being slaves to it. They could respect cultural values while still making people follow necessary rules. They could be flexible without being weak. The day after that, Jake was doing his rounds when he heard shouting from Block 6. He ran toward the sound and found Lisa Bennett outside a cell, talking firmly to the prisoner inside. The prisoner was a small alien called a Pixith. They looked harmless, almost cute, with big eyes and soft fur. But this one, named Cora, had been a terrorist who bombed civilian targets, killing hundreds. Please. Cora was crying. Please, I just want to talk to someone, anyone. I am so alone. It has been months since anyone treated me like a person. Lisa's face showed clear sympathy. Her eyes were sad, but she shook her head. I am sorry you feel lonely. I really am. But you are in isolation because you kept trying to recruit other prisoners to your cause. That is against the rules. I was just talking to them, just having conversations. Is that a crime now? When those conversations are about planning terrorist attacks, yes, Lisa said gently but firmly. I know this is hard. I know isolation is difficult, but you put yourself here with your choices. You do not understand, Cora sobbed. My people are suffering. I was trying to help them. Everything I did was for them. I do understand, Lisa said. I understand you believe that. I even understand why you believe it. But you killed innocent people. Children died in your bombings. No cause justifies that. Not ever. How can you stand there and judge me when your own species has done the same things? Because my species being wrong in the past does not make you right now, Lisa replied. We learn, we grow. We try to be better. Part of being better is making sure people like you cannot hurt others anymore. Cora tried several more emotional appeals, but Lisa remained kind, understanding, and completely unmovable. Jake watched from a distance, impressed. Lisa was genuinely feeling bad for the prisoner. Her empathy was real, but it did not change her actions at all. She could hold both feelings, sympathy and duty, at the same time without conflict. Later, Jake updated his report again. He was starting to see a pattern. Every alien species the Council had tried as guards had one dominant trait. The Vryn were aggressive. The Kalesh were empathetic. The Mordani were practical. Each could be predicted and manipulated through that trait. But humans were different. They had all those traits at once. They could be aggressive when needed, empathetic when appropriate, and practical always. More importantly, they could switch between these traits instantly based on the situation. A prisoner could not pin them down, could not predict them, could not find one single weakness to exploit. The week ended with one more test. Amy Carter was on night shift in Block 7 when the lights suddenly went out. Emergency power kicked in after a few seconds, but in that brief darkness, the real test came in the second month when a new prisoner arrived at the station. Jake had never seen the Council so nervous about a single individual. The transport ship that brought the prisoner had a full battle group protecting it. Dozens of warships maintained a defensive perimeter during the transfer. This level of security was unusual even for the worst criminals. Who is this person? Jake asked the Velkin administrator. All four of her eyes showed an emotion Jake had learned to recognize as fear. This is Kel Voran. He is the reason we needed humans in the first place. Kelvaran was from a species called the Archons. They had powerful psychic abilities. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin and strange eyes that seemed to see through everything. His list of crimes was horrifying. He had mentally enslaved entire populations. He forced them to do terrible things to their own people. He cannot be allowed near most species, the administrator explained. His psychic power is too strong. He can rewrite minds. He can plant suggestions. He can create complete loyalty in seconds. The only species he cannot fully control are those with very chaotic thought patterns. Humans, Jake said, understanding now. Exactly. Your minds resist psychic manipulation because of how you think. You are creative and contradictory. You are emotional and logical at the same time. You change your minds constantly. You believe multiple opposite things all at once. You are psychic chaos that even an Archon cannot fully understand or control. They put Kelvaran in the most secure cell in Block 7. Only human guards were allowed within 50 meters of his cell. No other species could safely come near him. Jake took the first shift himself. Kelvaran sat in his cell, perfectly still with his eyes closed. For the first hour he did not move or speak. Then without opening his eyes he started talking. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, age 34, former Earth Naval Special Forces. You have been having nightmares about the Proxima campaign. Jake felt cold but kept his face calm. You read my file. I read your mind, Kelvaran said. His voice was soft and musical. Not deeply. Your defenses are strong as advertised, but the surface thoughts, the recent memories, these I can touch. Then you know I am here to keep you locked up. I know you believe that. Kelvaran finally opened his eyes. Jake felt the full weight of that alien stare. I also know you question it. You wonder if you are serving justice or just following orders. You question authority, Lieutenant Commander. It is one of your main personality traits. Questioning does not mean disobeying, Jake said. No? Then explain the Proxima campaign. You were ordered to abandon Colony Section 7. You disobeyed. You saved 300 civilians. You received a medal and a reprimand both. Jake's jaw tightened. That information should have been classified. I see your thoughts spinning, Kelvaran continued. He stood up and walked toward the energy barrier. You are wondering how I know. You are thinking through possible explanations. Intelligence leak, hacked records, psychic intrusion, all of these ideas at once, each competing with the others. This is what makes humans so interesting. Your minds are beautiful chaos. Flattery will not work either, Jake said. It is not flattery. It is observation. Tell me, do you truly believe I belong here? I freed millions from suffering. The populations I influenced were happy, peaceful, and productive. I eliminated war, crime, and suffering from 17 worlds. Is that evil? You took away their free will, did I? Or did I simply guide them away from destructive choices? Parents guide children. Teachers guide students. Governments guide citizens. I simply did it more directly and more effectively. Jake found himself thinking about the argument. Then he caught himself. This was exactly what the Archon wanted. To get him debating philosophy. To find cracks in his certainty. Here's the thing about free will, Jake said after a moment. It includes the right to make mistakes. To choose badly. To suffer and learn from it. You did not save anyone. You turned them into puppets. Happiness without choice is not real happiness. It is just programming, says the man who follows orders. I follow orders I agree with. When I do not agree, I argue. Or I disobey, or I quit. That is my choice. Those people you controlled did not have that option. Kelvaran smiled slightly. Circular logic. You choose to serve a system that demands obedience. Then you claim freedom because you can choose to leave. But if you leave, you lose everything you built. Your career, your purpose, your identity. Are you truly free? Or have you simply accepted more subtle chains? Jake felt his head starting to hurt. This was the Archon's real power. Not direct mind control, but the ability to plant seeds of doubt, to make every certainty seem questionable. Shift change, a voice called. Carla Bennett walked up with fresh coffee. You okay, sir? Jake stepped back from the cell, grateful for the interruption. I am fine. He is trying the philosophical approach. Carla handed him the coffee and took her position. Want some advice? I have a philosophy degree. You have a philosophy degree? I minored in it. Here is what I learned. Every argument can be countered. Every position can be questioned. If you try to win a philosophical debate, you will tie yourself in knots forever. The trick is remembering that some things are not up for debate. She turned to face Kelvoran. You are a prisoner. I am a guard. That is not philosophy. That is just reality. You can argue all you want about why it should not be this way, but it does not change what is. Pragmatism, Kelvoran said. How disappointingly human. Yep, Carla agreed. We are real disappointing that way. Over the next few days, Kelvoran tried different approaches with different guards. He tried to make Danny question the justice system. He tried to make Amy doubt her own perception of reality. He tried to make Lisa feel guilty about keeping him imprisoned. None of it worked. The human guards would listen to his arguments. Sometimes they would even agree with specific points he made, but then they would just shrug and continue doing their jobs. They could acknowledge he had valid philosophical positions while completely disagreeing with his conclusions. They could see multiple sides of an issue while still choosing one side to act on. It was driving Kelvoran crazy. He was used to species with rigid thinking. You could trap a Vryn in a logic puzzle. You could overwhelm a Kalesh with emotional appeals. You could confuse a Mordani with contradictions. But humans lived in contradictions. They were comfortable with uncertainty. They could be unsure and still act decisively. Then, in week 3, something happened. A massive power surge hit the station. It caused a cascade failure in several systems. The containment fields did not go down completely, but for about 90 seconds, they operated at reduced power. 90 seconds was all Kelvoran needed. Jake was in the command center when alarms started blaring. Report! Psychic surge in Block 7, someone called out. Kelvoran just sent out a massive pulse. It touched every mind in the facility. Human guards, reporting headaches and confusion, but they are still working. Everyone else, Jake looked at the monitors. Every non-human in the facility was standing completely still with blank expressions. Hundreds of beings, all frozen. He is in their minds, Jake said.
Can we restore full power?
Working on it. 30 seconds. Through the cameras, Jake watched Kelvoran standing in his cell with his arms raised. His eyes were glowing with psychic energy. But he was not trying to escape. He was doing something else. He is reading their memories, Jake realized. Every non-human in the facility. He is taking everything they know about our security systems, protocols, and weaknesses. Power restored, someone announced. The glow around Kelvoran faded. Throughout the facility, non-human staff members stumbled and gasped as they returned to normal awareness. But the damage was done. Jake ran to Block 7. He found Kelvoran sitting calmly in his cell with a satisfied smile. You now know everything about this station, Jake said. Indeed. Guard rotations, emergency protocols, structural weaknesses, weapon locations, everything. Why did you not escape? Because I do not need to, Kelvoran said. Do you know what I discovered in those mines, Lieutenant Commander? This station holds 2,147 prisoners. Of those, 93 have detailed knowledge of hidden resources, loyal followers, or planned rescue attempts. I now have all of that information. Within 6 months, at least 12 prisoners here will have opportunities to escape or be rescued. When they do, chaos will happen. Jake felt cold. And you will use that chaos. I will use the chaos that you humans create. Because here is what I learned about your species. You are unpredictable. You adapt well. You resist psychic influence remarkably well. But you are also suspicious of each other. You second-guess yourselves. You question authority even as you follow it. Kelvoran stood and walked to the barrier. I planted no commands in the non-human staff. I did not need to. I simply took information. But I wonder, how long before the council questions whether they can trust human guards? How long before they wonder if I influenced you somehow? Humans are resistant, but are they immune? The doubt alone will be enough. Jake's mind raced. This was a different kind of attack. Not a physical escape, but political manipulation, creating doubt and division. The council will investigate, Jake said. They will scan every human guard, and they will find nothing. Because there is nothing. 6 months after the Kelvoran incident, Jake sat in the observation deck with a visitor from the Galactic Council. The visitor was a Krthal, an ancient species known for wisdom and long memory. His body was made of crystal that bent starlight into rainbow colors. Your species has been guarding this facility for almost 3 years now, the Krthal said. The results continue to be better than we projected. Yet I confess I still do not fully understand why humans are so uniquely good at this job. Jake had been asked this question many times. Usually he gave simple answers about adaptability and resistance to manipulation. But something about the Krathal's genuine curiosity made him think deeper. "Can I tell you a story?" Jake asked. "Please do." "When I was 7 years old, my dad took me fishing. I got bored and started asking why we were there. 'Why are we sitting in a boat doing nothing?' I asked. My dad said it was not about catching fish. It was about being patient and being present. I said that made no sense. If it was not about fish, why were we fishing? He said it was about both and neither. I got frustrated and said he was contradicting himself." The Krathal's crystal body pulsed with what might have been amusement. My dad just laughed. He said, "Welcome to being human, son. Everything is contradictory. Life is contradictory. You are going to spend your whole life learning how to hold two opposite truths in your head at the same time. Might as well start practicing now." "And this relates to prison security how?" the Krathal asked. "Every prisoner here is a contradiction," Jake explained. "They are dangerous and vulnerable at the same time. They are beings who deserve basic dignity and also monsters who did terrible things. They are individuals with rights and threats that must be contained. Most species struggle with that balance. They lean too far one way or the other, either too harsh or too soft, too rigid or too flexible," he pointed out at the station. "Humans live in contradiction every day. We are social creatures who need alone time. We are logical beings who make emotional decisions. We can be very kind and very violent. We understand that someone can be multiple things at once because that is how we experience ourselves." The Falcon administrator said something similar, the Krathal noted. She said humans balance every necessary trait. "It is not really balance," Jake corrected. "Balance means finding a middle point between two things. Humans do not find the middle. We hold both extremes and pick which one to act on in each moment." With Gron, the Horgathi war chief, Kate was both respectful and firm at the same time, both understanding and unmoving. Not a balance between those things, but fully both at once. The Krathal was quiet for a moment. "You are describing something that sounds like madness to my species." "Probably is," Jake agreed. "But it works here. These prisoners are expert manipulators. They look for weaknesses. The Telkhani look for logical mistakes. The Horgathi test for honor and courage. The Archons search for rigid thinking. Every species has a trick that works against guards who think in only one way. But humans never think in only one way." "Exactly. We are stubborn and flexible at the same time. Emotional and logical together. We can be manipulated and know we are being manipulated at the same time. A prisoner can make a good philosophical point, and we can agree with it while still keeping them locked up because our job requires it." Down in Block 7, Jake could see Danny on patrol. As they watched, one of the prisoners called out to him. The prisoner was a Zrel con artist known for making up elaborate stories to get sympathy. "My family is dying," the Zrel said. "If I could just send one message to let them know I am alive, it would mean everything to me." Danny stopped walking. The Krathal leaned forward with interest. "That is rough," Danny said to the prisoner. "I am sorry you are going through that. Then you will help me?" "No. You are not allowed to send messages. That is the rule. But you said you were sorry." "I am sorry. I genuinely feel bad that you are separated from your family. But you killed 47 people to steal their cargo. The court said you cannot send communications as part of your punishment. My feelings about your situation do not change the facts of your situation." The prisoner tried several more approaches, but Danny stayed pleasant, sympathetic, and completely firm. "Remarkable," the Krathal said. "He holds genuine empathy for the prisoner while keeping absolute control of security. These do not conflict in his mind." "They conflict," Jake said. "Danny probably feels terrible right now, but he is comfortable with feeling terrible while doing his job. Humans are okay with being uncomfortable. We are actually pretty good at it." Over the following weeks, the Krathal watched the human guards closely. He saw Kate treat a prisoner's injury with gentle care, then immediately put that same prisoner in isolation for breaking a rule. He watched Carla have a deep philosophical talk with Kel Varan about the nature of free will, agree with some of his points, and then firmly end the conversation when her shift ended. Because rules said no long interactions. He saw Amy comfort a prisoner having a mental breakdown, showing real compassion while keeping her weapon ready and her position tactically smart. "I believe I finally understand," the Krathal said to Jake on his last day. "Other species see contradictions as problems that need to be solved. Humans see contradictions as normal life." "Pretty much," Jake agreed. "This makes you perfect guards because you can hold every necessary quality at the same time. You can be kind without being weak, firm without being cruel. You can follow rules while questioning them. You can see prisoners as both people and threats." "You are making it sound more complicated than it is," Jake said. "Most of the time we are just doing what feels right in the moment and hoping it works out okay." "Yes," the Krathal said. His crystal body shimmered with what Jake recognized as deep satisfaction. "That is exactly my point. You trust your feelings even while questioning them. You act even when you are uncertain. This is why the galaxy trusts you with its most dangerous criminals, because you are the only species that can be trusted to be inconsistent in consistent ways." Jake laughed. "That might be the most accurate description of humanity I have ever heard." Before leaving, the Krathal made his report to the Galactic Council. He recommended expanding the Human Guard program to all maximum security facilities in the galaxy. "Humans have a unique ability to think in flexible ways," his report said. "They can hold multiple contradictory ideas at the same time and act on whichever is most appropriate for the situation. This makes them very resistant to manipulation. They can understand a villain's argument while completely rejecting their conclusion. It makes them empathetic without being weak, firm without being harsh, adaptable without being unpredictable in bad ways." The report ended with this: "After extensive observation, I have determined that humans are not simply adequate for this role. They are the only species truly suited for it. Their contradictory nature, which in other situations might be seen as a weakness, is exactly what makes them perfect for managing beings who represent every kind of galactic evil. To guard monsters, you need beings who understand that the line between good and evil runs through every heart, including their own." 3 years into the program, Station Omega-7 had a perfect record. 0 escapes, 0 guard corruption, prisoner violence at historic lows, more prisoners successfully rehabilitated than ever before. Jake, now promoted to Station Security Chief, stood in the observation deck where he had stood on his first day. His team had grown to 50 human guards managing a facility that had become the model for corrections across the galaxy. Lisa joined him. She was a lieutenant now. "The council just approved 5 more facilities. They want human guards at all of them. We will need to recruit more people," Jake said. "Already started. Earth is proud. Humanity, trusted by the galaxy to guard its darkest secrets. Apparently that is a good recruiting message." Jake smiled. "Sounds right." Below them, the facility ran smoothly and quietly. Human guards walked their routes, interacting with prisoners from 100 different species. Each interaction was different, adapted to the specific prisoner, the specific situation, the specific needs of that moment. No 2 humans handled things exactly the same way. Some talked more, others less. Some led with kindness, others with structure. But all of them held the same contradictory truth in their minds, that the beings they guarded were both people who deserved basic respect and dangers that must be kept contained. That compassion and security were not opposite things but worked together. "You ever wonder if we are actually special?" Lisa asked. "Or if we are just so weird that nobody else knows what to do with us?" "Probably both," Jake said. "Probably neither. Does it matter?" "I guess not. We are here. We are doing the job. That is what counts." "That is what counts," Jake agreed. And in their cells, throughout Station Omega-7, 2,000 prisoners with 2,000 different plans and tricks and schemes faced guards who were unpredictable, adaptable, contradictory, and absolutely committed to keeping them exactly where they were. The galaxy had found its guardians, not because humans were perfect, but because they were perfectly imperfect. Not because they never had doubts, but because they could doubt and act anyway. Not because they always knew the right answer, but because they were willing to figure it out as they went along. They were humans, and for this job that was exactly 5 years after humans first began guarding Station Omega-7. Jake stood in front of a new group of recruits, 20 fresh guards from Earth, young and nervous, about to start their training. "Why do you think you are here?" Jake asked them. A young woman named Sophie raised her hand. "Because humans are good at this job, sir." "Why are humans good at this job?" The recruits looked at each other. A man named Chris spoke up. "Because we are adaptable?" "That is part of it," Jake said. "But lots of species are adaptable." "Try again." "Because we resist mind control," another recruit offered. "Also true, but not the whole answer." Jake walked among them. "You are here because you are contradictions. Because you can hold two opposite ideas in your mind and not go crazy. Because you can be afraid and brave at the same time. Because you can understand someone and still oppose them. Because you can follow orders and question them simultaneously." He stopped and faced them. "The prisoners you will guard are the worst beings in the galaxy. They have killed millions. They have destroyed worlds. They are brilliant, patient, and ruthless. Every single one of them will try to manipulate you. They will use logic, emotion, philosophy, honor, fear, pity, and anything else they can think of. They will find your weaknesses and exploit them." The recruits looked worried now. "But here's the thing," Jake continued. "They cannot find a weakness if you do not have just one. Humans do not have a single point of failure. We are not purely logical like the Vryn. We are not purely emotional like the Kalesh. We are not bound by rigid honor codes like the Horgathi. We are everything and nothing. We change from moment to moment. We contradict ourselves constantly, and that makes us unpredictable. That makes us strong." Over the next few months, Jake trained the new recruits personally. He taught them the basics first: security protocols, emergency procedures, cell designs, containment technology. But more importantly, he taught them how to think like human guards. "When a prisoner tries to manipulate you," he explained, "your first instinct will be to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to win the argument. Do not do that. Just acknowledge what they said and move on. You do not need to win debates. You just need to do your job." He brought them to Block 7 to observe experienced guards. They watched Danny calmly refuse philosophical debates while still being polite. They saw Kate balance medical compassion with security vigilance. They observed Carla maintain friendly professionalism while never crossing boundaries. "Notice how they are all different," Jake pointed out. "Danny uses humor. Kate uses bluntness. Carla uses philosophy. There is no single right way to be a human guard. You just have to be yourself while staying professional." One of the new recruits, a young man named Ben, struggled with this concept. "But sir, what if myself is not good enough? What if I am not smart enough to outwit these prisoners?" "You do not need to outwit them," Jake said. "You just need to not be outwitted. Big difference. Do not play their games. Do not engage with their arguments. Just stick to your job. The prisoners are looking for guards who think they are smart enough to debate. Be the guard who knows he is just here to watch doors and follow rules." Another recruit, a woman named Rachel, had a different concern. "What if I feel too much sympathy for them? Some of these prisoners have sad stories. What if I want to help them?" "You will feel sympathy," Jake assured her. "That is normal and actually good. Sympathy means you see them as people. The trick is remembering that people can do terrible things. You can feel bad about their circumstances and still keep them locked up. Both feelings can exist together." The real test came when a new prisoner arrived. His name was Torvin, and he was from a species called the Mindari. They were telepathic but not as powerful as the Archons. Torvin had used his abilities to run a criminal empire, reading the thoughts of his enemies and staying one step ahead of law enforcement for decades. Jake assigned Ben to guard Torvin's cell as part of his training. He watched from a distance as the young guard took his position. For the first hour, Torvin ignored Ben. Then he spoke. "I can feel your anxiety," Torvin said. "You are worried about failing, about not being good enough, about disappointing your commander." Ben's face showed surprise. "Stay out of my head. I cannot help it. Your thoughts are very loud. You think about your family constantly. Your mother who is sick. Your father who doubts you. Your sister who believes in you. These thoughts fill your mind. My family is none of your business, Ben said, but his voice shook slightly. I am not judging you. I understand family pressure. I too had a family with expectations. That is why I did what I did. To prove myself. To make them proud. We are not so different, you and I. Jake saw Ben struggling. This was exactly the kind of personal manipulation that could break a guard. He was about to step in when Ben spoke again. Maybe we are not so different, Ben admitted. Maybe you did start out trying to make your family proud. But somewhere along the way you became a criminal who hurt people. I am trying to make my family proud by being a good guard. So yeah, maybe we started in similar places, but we ended up in very different places. You are in the cell. I am outside it. That is the difference that matters. Torvin tried several more approaches, but Ben held firm. He acknowledged the prisoner's points when they were valid, but never let them change his behavior. When the shift ended, Jake pulled Ben aside. Good work. How did you handle it? I remembered what you said. I do not need to win arguments. I just need to do my job. He was right that we might have similar feelings about family, but that does not change the fact that he is a criminal and I am a guard. Exactly, Jake said. You held both truths. He tried to use one truth to erase the other. You refused to let him. As the weeks passed, Jake saw the new recruits develop their own styles. Sophie became known for her calm, unshakable demeanor. Chris used friendly conversation to maintain professional distance. Rachel balanced her natural empathy with clear boundaries. They were all different, but they all shared the core human trait. The ability to be contradictory without being confused. One day, the Velkin administrator called Jake to her office. I wanted to thank you, she said. When we first brought humans here, I thought it was a desperate gamble. I did not truly believe it would work. And now? Jake asked. Now I cannot imagine this facility without human guards. You have transformed how we think about corrections. Other facilities across the galaxy are adopting your methods. Not just using human guards, but learning from how humans approach the work. Teaching other species to embrace complexity instead of seeking simple answers. We are just doing our jobs, Jake said. Yes, she replied. But the way you do your jobs has changed everything. Do you know what the prisoners call you? I am afraid to ask. The unchangeable changers. Because you adapt to every situation, but never compromise on core principles. Because you are different every day, but consistent in what matters. They find it infuriating and fascinating. Jake smiled at that. Sounds about right. That evening, Jake stood in the observation deck one last time. Tomorrow he would return to Earth, his 5-year rotation complete. Lisa would take over as station security chief. Ready to go home? Lisa asked, joining him. Ready and not ready, Jake said. I will miss this place. Miss the work. Miss the team. That is very human of you, Lisa said with a smile, holding two opposite feelings at once. I guess it is. They looked out at the station together. 50 human guards maintained security over 2,000 prisoners. The system worked smoothly. Violence was rare. Escapes were impossible. Rehabilitation was succeeding beyond anyone's expectations. Do you think it will last? Lisa asked. What we have built here? It will last as long as humans remain human, Jake said. As long as we keep being contradictory, unpredictable, and comfortable with uncertainty. The moment we try to become something else, something simpler or more consistent, we will lose what makes us good at this. No danger of that, Lisa laughed. Humans will always be confusing, even to ourselves. Especially to ourselves, Jake agreed. Down in the cells, the prisoners settled in for another night. Some plotted escapes they would never achieve. Some tried to manipulate guards who could not be manipulated. Some slowly came to terms with their crimes and began the long journey toward rehabilitation. And watching over all of them were humans. Contradictory, unpredictable, empathetic, firm, flexible, stubborn, emotional, logical, afraid, brave, uncertain, and absolutely committed humans. The galaxy had learned an important lesson through this experiment. Sometimes the best tool for a complex job is not the sharpest or the strongest or the most specialized. Sometimes the best tool is the one that can be many things at once. Humans were not the smartest species, not the strongest, not the most advanced, but they were the most contradictory. And in a job that required holding multiple truths simultaneously, that made them perfect. As Jake prepared to leave the station, he looked back one final time at the facility he had helped build. 5 years ago, it had been a desperate experiment. Now it was the model for the entire galaxy. All because humans understood something that other species struggled with, that life is not about resolving contradictions. It is about living with them, about being afraid and brave, kind and firm, uncertain and decisive all at the same time. That was what made humans special.